Welcome to the October 27th meeting of the City of Clovis Planning Commission. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in meetings by accessing the webcast on the city website, providing written comments at the same website, participating by phone, or by coming to the Planning Commission meeting in person. I could call a meeting to order at 6:01. And Mr. Cunningham, if you'll lead us, yes. Flag salute. Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Okay, if I could have Planning Commission approval of the minutes.
Well, motion to...
Chair, can we do roll call first?
Oh, I'm sorry, roll
you.
call, yeah.
Commissioner Antuna?
Here.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Here.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Here.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Here.
Chair Hinkle?
Here. Now we'll go to approval of the minutes.
A motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Antuna to approve the September 22nd, 2022 Planning Commission minutes. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
I was absent and I'll abstain.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, any comments from Commission Secretary?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a little bit of an advanced, not a warning exactly, that it sounds ominous. Just a heads up, I guess, is a more informal way to say it. At your December meeting, it'll be time to consider a change in the chairmanship role of the commission. It's been 2 years since Mr. Hinkle was appointed to that role, and it is your informal policy to elect a chairman after 2 years. We are working on a set of planning commission procedures, kind of like an informal set of bylaws, if you will, that will outline what that rotation could look like, as well as address some of the issues that have occasionally come up, like what happens during split votes or votes without a full quorum of the commission and so forth. Just a couple of miscellaneous items that have come up in the last couple of years. And so we'll agendize that, or I plan to agendize that, assuming it's ready to go at your November meeting. And you'll have a chance then to ask any questions or refine that as you see fit. We're also working with we'll be working with the City Attorney's Office to determine if that also needs to go to the council or whether the commission can adopt it as its own set of operating practices. So anyway, I wanted to give you a heads up that the chairmanship rule would come up in December, and next month we should have, intend to have those rules and procedures for you to take a look at.
Okay. Planning Commission members, any comment?
If I might, I'd just like to extend my thanks to the staff of the city, and including our staff, for helping set up tours for the commission of our landmark square building, both the Transit Center and the new Senior Citizens Center. It was quite informative, and we were, speaking for myself, very flabbergasted at the size of the buildings on the inside. They're much larger on the inside than they are on the out. But thank you for allowing us to tour those.
I just wanted to second that, because it was amazing how fast those buildings are going up, and yes, they're very deceiving on the exterior, the size of the inside, but Amy was amazing. She was so excited about the project. It's made it very contagious to me, like, okay, I need to get involved somehow. What can I do, because she's just so proud of that project and the details that are being implemented to ensure that our residents just have a beautiful place to come visit. So absolutely, it was amazing.
Anybody else comment? Is there anybody in the chamber from the general public that would like to make comments on anything that is not on the current agenda? Is there any online?
There are none.
Okay. We will go to the public hearing portion of the meeting, and we will go to item 1, and that's to consider items associated with plus or minus 1.9 acres of property located on the northeast corner of North Temperance Avenue and Owens Mountain Parkway. David Verk, LLC, owner applicant, Bottom Line Group, LLC, Steph Ramirez, representative. We will have conditional use permit 2022-004, request to approve a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through use service window for a quick service restaurant. Part B on that is consider approval, conditional use permit 2022-005, a request to approve a conditional use permit to allow a 24-hour convenience store with fuel cells, the sales of liquor and alcohol beverages for off-site consumption, and a quick service restaurant, drive-through use. And then conditional use permit 2022-007, a request to modify the Sunrise Pavilion PCC use schedule to allow for 24-hour operations through the conditional use permit, specifically for the proposed service station and convenience store hours of operation to be 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. If I can bring it to our staff. And Marissa.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. The applicant is proposing a commercial development within the Sunrise Pavilion Planned Commercial Center. The development includes a convenience store and 2 quick service restaurants, which will be referred to as QSRs, and those will have drive-thrus. There are 3 conditional use permits associated with this project request. The first CUP we will be discussing is CUP 2022-007, which is the addition of the 24 hours use to the use schedule for the Sunrise Pavilion Planned Commercial Center. The second CUP associated with the development is CUP 2022-005, which is requesting approval for a convenience store with fuel and alcohol sales, a drive-through, and a 24-hour use, which will be for the building to the west. And lastly, the third CUP we will be looking at is CUP 2022-004, which is for the approval of a QSR with a drive-through on the east building. The project site is located on the northeast corner of North Temperance Avenue and Owens Mountain Parkway. This is a vacant site within the Sunrise Pavilion PCC Zone District. As mentioned, this is located in the northern section of the Sunrise Pavilion Shopping Center. This parcel is currently zoned PCC, or Planned Commercial Center, and it is designated Mixed Use and Business Campus in the general plan. Surrounding areas of the property are zoned RT or Future RT. The Sunrise Pavilion is part of the Planned Commercial Center, and the boundaries are shown in the purple. I don't know why. Wrong button, sorry. The purple boundaries. The PCC encourages innovative design resulting in an environment superior to conventional commercial development. This zoning district allows all uses customarily associated with commercial centers if designated as part of an approved development plan. The Sunrise Pavilion PCC zoning incorporates a unique use schedule and development standards that have been approved by City Council. The subject property was annexed into the City of Clovis on June 15, 1987. Rezone 2001-4 was approved by City Council on July 16, 2001. This rezone established the RT Research and Technology Park Zone District, which included the subject property. Less than a year later, City Council approved Rezone 2001-17 on February 4, 2002. This rezone established the Sunrise Pavilion PCC Zone District and rezoned the subject parcel from RT to PCC. The first CUP we will be discussing is CUP 2022-007. As part of the proposed project, a 24-hour use is requested. Please note that a previous version of the Sunrise Pavilion PCC use schedule was included as an exhibit by mistake. The most updated version has been provided to you, reflecting the addition of the 24-hour use, as well as on the screen. The established use schedule for the Sunrise Pavilion PCC does not currently address 24-hour uses. The applicant is requesting this conditional use permit to modify the use schedule and add 24-hour uses to the list of uses allowed through the conditional use process. If approved, 24-hour uses will be added to the overall use schedule for Sunrise Pavilion, and any applicant will be able to request a 24-hour use with a site-specific conditional use permit. Because conditional use permit 2022-007 only proposes to change the use schedule and is not a site-specific request for a 24-hour use, the applicant is also requesting approval of CUP 2022-005, which would allow the service station and convenience store to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. CUP 2022-005 is requesting approval to allow a 24-hour convenience store operation with fuel sales and the sale of liquor and alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption and a QSR drive-through use for the West Building, this one here. The building will consist of a 4,500 square foot convenience store with a 1,500 square foot designated food service, co-tenant space, and fuel canopy. The fuel canopy consists of 8 fuel dispensers. The food service component will include an ancillary drive-through use. The drive-through standards are met with this proposal. The convenience store use will require a Type 21 ABC license. This license will allow for the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The project location is part of Census Tract 55.12, and according to the Fresno Division of the Alcohol Beverage Control, this is not an overconcentrated area, as well as it is not in a high crime area. There are 4 Type 21 licenses allowed in this area, and there are 2 existing. Please note that the City of Clovis Police Department handles all matters regarding ABC licenses, and they did not express any concerns with this proposal. Lastly, CUP 2022-004 is a request to approve a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through use and service window for a quick service restaurant for the East Building. A quick service restaurant is allowed by right. However, with the addition of a drive-through use and service window, a CUP is required. The restaurant and retail building will be approximately 6,500 square feet. The user is unknown at this time, therefore the hours of operation and number of staff members will be determined based on the tenant mix. The users are also unknown for the other building as well. The drive-through standards are also met with this proposal. There are 2 access points proposed for the site. The first is located off of Temperance Avenue and the other off of Owens Mountain Parkway. To minimize traffic impacts by limiting access driveways, the Engineering Division may require that the access on Temperance Avenue be shared with the future development to the north during the site plan review process. The Sunrise Pavilion PCC established a parking requirement of no less than 5 stalls per 1,000 square feet of building area. The proposed site shows 68 stalls where 63 are required. The parking standards for this project are met. The project will be reviewed in detail through the site plan review process to ensure that city development standards are met. The project will need to abide by the PCC Zone District Development Standards and Commercial Design Guidelines. In regard to architecture, the design for this development revolves around a contemporary high-tech theme, which has been established for the Research and Technology Park. Architectural elements and styles shall be consistent with the research and technology buildings in the vicinity and the developed phase of the Sunrise Pavilion Commercial Center. These elements include basic geometric building forms, expression of natural materials such as metal and concrete. Based on the findings stated in the staff report, there being no adverse effects on the surrounding area and no opposing comments from outside agencies, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve CUPs 2022-004, 005, and 007, subject to the conditions of approval. Thank you, and I will be happy to answer any questions the Commission may have.
Any questions?
I just have one question. Reading the Caltrans letter, I saw that item 1 talked about a peak hour ramp queue analysis. I think anecdotally, I see and hear a lot about the roundabout there and the trouble with that, that some people have. That being said, were there any considerations by the city in response to that, just looking at how this development might impact traffic flows there?
Commissioner Best said that the roundabout is actually our mitigation for Caltrans because of the proximity of that intersection. When it was a 3-leg intersection, it was okay to have it as a signal. But as soon as it became a 4-leg intersection, then we were required to mitigate for Caltrans and install that roundabout.
Yeah, understood. I know that roundabout's controversial, perhaps, but I was just curious if we thought that was gonna, even with it being a mitigating factor, if it was gonna have any impact with additional development in the area.
For sure, it will get more traffic. Definitely. I happened to look at the traffic that was going through there and look at the accident reports as well. It's performing just as well as before. Same number of incidents. Actually queried some staff as well who live in the area, and they say it's actually, as far as delay goes, that it's performing better than the signal. So traffic is flowing slower, but without stopping and having long queues. So that seems to be better for businesses that you get more people coming by, and we're also alleviating the potential of a big long queue and impact the Caltrans because of that roundabout.
Yeah, keep it moving. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I will then bring it to the project developers.
Well, good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Lando Ramirez, 6781 North Palm in Fresno, California, and this mini-me guy is...
Yeah, hi, I'm Seth Ramirez, 6781 North Palm in Fresno as well.
So his voice is deeper than mine. That's not cool. Thank you very much for that comprehensive staff report, Marissa. That's a job really well done for a confusing project that has many different fingers attached to it. So we concur with staff on the staff report. I had a general question for engineering regarding the shared access. Sean, would you be okay with a reciprocal access if we install the approach on our side but provide reciprocal access to the north? We just want clarification on that.
I think we can definitely look at what your plan is through the site plan review.
Okay.
Yeah, we would like to minimize the access points though as much as possible. So I think your idea has some merit to it.
Okay. Only because we don't control that property to the north and we don't know what their timing is on development, and we're ready to move forward with our project. So we have no problem recording a reciprocal access agreement so we can provide that access throughout the development. We provide 2 points of access as it is now, as required by the fire department. So we are ready to move forward with this project, and we could certainly use your support. And Seth is here for any questions.
Any questions? Nope, see none, so.
No, I had one, sorry. Really quick, now I know that your, QSR, is not yet mentioned, but I did read through the staff report. I'm excited to see this project because it's really interesting and something that we don't really have here in this area, so I'm interested to see that. And, since you're promoting health and lifestyle, I'm hoping that whoever you select as your tenant will possibly also encourage that. So, and that's just a personal preference, so nothing specific. Your project is pretty amazing.
Well, we take careful consideration in who the tenants we select as well. We just got the hotel approved, which we control and will operate. We care about the community. As you know, I spent 30 years here, and I'm pretty much invested in this community, so I don't want to see a project that's not guaranteed to succeed or that creates any detrimental impacts to the city and its citizens.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I open it up to the chambers. Anybody in the chambers here that would like to speak upon this? Those right now that are for it. Just a second, we have to turn your.
No, I'm usually in bed by now, but Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, I'm George Beal. My address is 1175 Shaw Avenue, Clovis. I'm the owner of the Johnny Quick Food Store across the street from this proposed project. Can I give everybody a map of the park that's out there, the tech park that's been under construction for about 30 years? Do you mind?
Sure. Thank you.
I think most of you have been around for the period of time when this tech park was originally proposed back in the 90s. In 1993, I purchased the southwest corner of Neath and Temperance. And I attempted to get it zoned a number of times, 3 times actually, to put in a convenience store and that type of thing. And, you know, it's like the 3 bears, I'm too early, still too early, and it's just not right. So this last year, escrow closed in July, and I sold it to the Asimi Group. What I'm trying to point out, what happened with the park, it just never got off the ground because it wasn't a bad idea, don't get me wrong. It just didn't have any money behind it. And I think Asimi has purchased a number of this stuff out here, and he's probably up to 35 acres or 40 acres. And I think everybody here knows what his intentions are. And I think the guy's got the horsepower to make this happen over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And I think it's going to be a real asset to the city of Clovis. People that come to Clovis, they usually come out in this area to the hospitals. That's one thing they'll take back with them wherever they come from. Now, what I have is that the vision of the park was kind of so-so. You know, it was all tech, and Cisco was part of it and all that kind of stuff. Now I think there's somebody there that can really bring the park to fruition. That takes me to the CUP 202207. You know, for this project to go in across the street, it looks like a Christmas tree of CUPs. You know, it's not a clean deal. It's not 1 or 2. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 CUPs to make this work. And I've never seen one that had that many CUPs attached to it. One of the ones that grabs me a little bit is the alcoholic beverage side of the CUP. They want a Type 21 license. Okay. I have a type 21 license. I've been there for 15 years, and when I got my type 21 license, they said, okay, the first thing we want to make sure we restrict you. And the smallest bottle you can sell is a quart. Okay, well, that's fine. You know, if that's what it is, that's what it is. And I go, why? They go, well, you sell some post-mix and things like that, and if we let you sell the little airplane bottles, everybody's going to buy those, and they're going to put them in their Pepsi. Well, I don't know. You know, people drive and they do what they want to do, but we have had no problems with it, but I don't think that we ought to do what Fresno does. They, for a long time, put alcoholic beverage license directly across the street from one another, along with the gas and QSRs and all of that kind of thing. But, and that's where I have to say, I got to take my hat off to an outfit like the guy that built the Ark over there at Clovis and Herndon. He has no alcoholic beverages. He thinks his brand is strong enough to survive without alcoholic beverages. And the council or the planning commission didn't bend and give him a license. I think that was a good move. I don't have any interest over there. I just thought it was the way it should be handled. You know, this census tract that these licenses are in, they start at Sunnyside to Herndon, up to Nice, and to 168. There's 4 licenses allowed in that census tract. Myself, Shop and Go, even though Riley sells hard liquor and they sell it to go, they don't consider them as a type 21. Now, the 2 licenses that are left over, they're up for grabs. These guys could get one. It's a beer and wine license. It's not a type 21 license. But the other thing is, in that whole census tract, there may not be any other licenses. So with this stuff happening with CME, it's gonna, if somebody else has gets a license in that area, they're gonna preclude a Walgreens, Rite Aid, a larger footprint, a Trader Joe's, or anything of this nature. I know they have a catchy name by Urban, whatever the hell it is, Urban Market. But if you read their 82-page description of what they do, there's, you know, it's a little of this, unique this, but it's just general convenience store items. That's their thing. I read the 82 pages. So they'd probably be good competitors. We've gone through the hard times out there when there was nobody living out there. Harlan Ranch helped. There was nobody on the freeway. But, you know, I don't know if they own it, if they don't, but I think we shouldn't just roll over and give them their 10 CUPs to get them in there. Now, the other thing that the hours of operation, when we opened out there, we were restricted, 5 a.m. to midnight. Well, we don't operate 24 hours anymore. We used to have a bunch of 24-hour stores. Times have changed. People have gotten older. They're not out carousing like they used to be when they were younger. And so there's not a lot that comes off the freeway. We do hourly readings for staffing. And our staffing is probably, we employ 20, 21 people there. And that doesn't include Arsenio. Arsenio is a contractor that operates Arsenio Mexican restaurants. We're done. By 11 to 12, our sales are down to nothing. And that's just the way it is. We're allowed to keep our gasoline islands open with the lights lit. People can access the gasoline facility. That's not a problem. But the 24 hours, I don't know if the community out there really needs a 24-hour store. And that concludes my presentation. If there's anything else I can add to it, here to answer a question.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Is there any other input within the chamber that oppose this development? Is there any online?
There are none.
Okay. We'll bring it back to the commission and staff. Do you have anything you'd like to input versus what's been said?
I do not.
Okay. And, it's open for discussion by the commission.
I had one final question for staff. It's not mentioned in our report, so I'm assuming it's a no, but just for the record, there is no mention of outside seating. So I'm assuming that there is no outdoor seating for this urban market. No tables, nothing set out. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
I have one question for staff. For CUP 004, it says that since there isn't a set person who's going to be in there yet, that the proposed hours should be between 6 and 10. Will they be coming back to us if the hours are going to be different, or are we locking this in at 6 to 10 for that particular CUP?
Sorry, that wasn't included as a condition of approval. I think that was just carried over from the operational statement that was provided. That those would be the general hours, normal operational hours. But with the CUP, we're not restricting the hours.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
One more question. For the 24 hours, since it sounded like we're going to allow for 24 hours for that development or that area for the pavilion, Sunrise Pavilion. However, it is just this CUP that's going to be granted 24-hour hours of operation. If someone else in that vicinity wants to approach the city for 24-hour use, they'd have to go through a CUP as well?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Any more discussion, commission? Okay, I'd like to open it up for a motion.
Yeah, I have no more discussion. I'll make a motion. I will motion to approve CUP 2022 TAC 004, the request approving the conditional use permit for the drive-through use and service window for the quick service restaurant.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Bedstead and second by Commissioner Antuna to approve CUP 2022-004 to allow drive-through use and service window for a quick service restaurant for property located at the northeast corner of North Temperance and Owens Mountain Parkway. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, move to item B.
I will make a motion to approve CUP 2022 TAC 005, approving the conditional use permit, allowing the 24-hour convenience store with fuel sales, liquor, and alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption, and the quick service restaurant drive-through use.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bedstead and second by Commissioner Antuna to approve CUP 2022-005 to allow a 24-hour convenience store with fuel sales and the sale of liquor and alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption and a quick service restaurant drive-through use for property located again at the northeast corner of North Temperance and Owens Mountain Parkway. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, we'll move to item 2 on the public hearings.
One more.
Oh, oops.
Yep.
Oops, I'm sorry, I did the same thing last time.
I'll, again, motion on item C, the CUP 2022 TAC 007, request modifying the Sunrise Pavilion PCC use schedule to allow for 24-hour operations through the conditional use permit process, specifically for the service station and the convenience store hours to be 24/7.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Bedstead and seconded by Commissioner Antuna to approve CUP 2022-007 to modify the Sunrise Pavilion PCC use schedule to allow for 24-hour operations through a conditional use permit, specifically for the proposed service station and convenience store hours of operations to be 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. Again, for the property located at the northeast corner of North Temperance and Owens Mountain Parkway. Commissioner Antuna.
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead.
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes.
Chair Hinkle.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move to item 2.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good night, everyone.
Okay, consider approval of conditional use permit 2020-004, consideration of the revocation of a previously approved conditional use permit allowing the expansion of an existing athletic facility to include outdoor athletic training, activities, and events for a portion of an approximate 0.6 acre property located at 340 Clovis Avenue due to a lack of compliance with the conditions of approval. Athletic performance applicant David Stanfire, representative. Staff, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. As you noted, the project under consideration this evening is the consideration of a revocation of CUP 2020-004 based on non-compliance. However, the recommendation from staff this evening is to adopt a resolution allowing the CUP to remain in effect while continuing the suspension of outdoor activities, and that's based on the current status of the project and the progress that's been made towards meeting the outstanding conditions. You'll recall that the CUP in question was originally approved a little more than a year ago, back in September of 2020. The CUP allowed outdoor training at the existing athletic performance business there on Clovis Avenue. There was a one-year review that was required for the original CUP, and that was conducted just about a year ago in October of 2021. And then the Commission conducted follow-up reviews in January, May, and August of this year. Today, there are 33 conditions in place. The status as of this evening is that there are 7 conditions that are currently out of compliance. Those relate to sidewalk frontage and trash enclosure improvements. During your last review back in August, the applicant confirmed that the subject property had been acquired and the applicant and his team were fully in control of the site. During that meeting, we described that final engineering plans were nearing completion and were expected both by the applicant and staff to be approved by the end of August. I think that meeting was conducted on Thursday, August 25th, and we expected the plans to be submitted on the next Monday, so just a couple of days later. Based on that status, the Commission modified the conditions to extend the suspension of outdoor activities until all the improvements had been completed, and they set today as the deadline for the completion of the improvements and the conditions. So since the August 25th meeting, there's been quite a lot of activity, but beginning with the fact that the plans that we anticipated to be submitted just a couple days after your August meeting were not submitted on that timeline. That date came and went. There were some problems with getting an accessibility report in and incorporated. Long story short, actually a couple of weeks after that deadline, the applicant decided to change engineering teams. They brought in a local engineering firm, and after that change happened, things started to move pretty quickly. After a little bit of exchange, final plans were submitted and approved on September 28th, so today we do have approved plans. About a week later, an encroachment permit was approved. October 14th, the traffic control plan was approved. A traffic control plan plays a pretty significant role here because the outside travel lane which is the lane on Clovis Avenue closest to the sidewalk, has to be closed in order to allow the demolition work to begin. And that work required, the traffic control required some lead time by the company, the third-party company that does the traffic control. So they won't be prepared to implement the traffic control until November 3rd, next week. And so the work on demo and getting the improvements done should start next week. The duration of that work we expect to be about 2 weeks. During this time, the Landscape Maintenance District annexation documents were signed and fully executed, so that item came off the non-compliance list. All right, I should also mention that this is a picture towards the rear of the lot. The trash enclosure work has commenced already. It did not require the kind of traffic control that the Clovis Avenue work did, so that work has begun. So again, today, technically, there are 7 conditions that are out of compliance. All of those relate to construction work. But as I've noted, the plans have been approved, permits have been issued for the work, and some of that work has started. The rest should start next week. The recommended action, as we've identified, is to extend the suspension of outdoor activities that was previously put in place, but to allow the CUP to remain in effect, and to set a new deadline of December 15th, 2022. Alternatively, since the project is technically out of compliance with those conditions, and it has been since the beginning, the Commission may find that the project is out of compliance and revoke the CUP this evening. The Commission may find that other actions are appropriate beyond these 2 alternatives, and if you find that you'd like to take another action, you can just define that as well as the basis for that action. The recommendation this evening from staff is to adopt a resolution finding that the project is still out of compliance and also modifying the conditions of approval, allowing the CUP to remain in effect, continuing the suspension of outdoor activities, and identifying December 15th as the new deadline for the completion of the improvements. And with those notes, I'd be happy to answer any questions the Commission may have.
Any questions for staff?
Yes. Dave, I read through the resolution that we're proposing to adopt, and it does not cite any deadline or due date for the compliance to take place. So maybe in the more layman's terms, you can explain what action, the resolution, what type of action is that taking for this CUP? Does it preclude it from revocation? Is there a timeline of when the project, is it in perpetuity? Like, what is it that this
Yeah, I think you'll find that information in attachment 1B to the resolution, which is the modified conditions of approval, and that's where December 15th is identified as the revised date for all the outstanding conditions, as well as a new review date.
So are we memorializing, kind of stating that this CUP is still out of compliance and providing a deadline of December 15th? Is that what this resolution is doing?
Correct.
David, what, in your mind, is different between today's request and the one that we heard in January and in May and in August as to promise by the applicant that things would be completed? What is different now in asking for this 2 more months?
Yeah, it's a fair question. We've had commitments, you have had commitments from the applicant to complete the work previously. The difference now is that we have been in a position to review and approve comprehensive plans for the work. We've issued an encroachment permit. We've issued a traffic control plan. Work has started on the improvements, and I'll rely on Sean. I believe Sean has talked with way they're confirmed, that there is a contractor that's intending to, follow the implementation of the traffic control to do the work. So we have, identified that we're in a position where we're less about hoping that the work gets done and have a more, specific, ability to say that the work is underway, and I wish, I know the applicant wishes that the work were, particularly on Clovis Avenue, were already underway. I think he wanted to be able to be in that position, but the traffic control just took a little bit longer to implement than we had hoped.
If I understand correctly, the city has kept its part of the bargain. I mean, our turnaround times, when we're asked, have been very short. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So we're keeping our end. The failure, if I'm to be so bold, is not on our end then.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll reserve the rest of it for later.
Any more questions for staff? Okay, is there anybody here from the development side of this project?
Oh, good evening. Yes, I can answer your questions.
If you could tell us who you are for the record?
Yes, my name is David Standifer. I'm the owner of Athletic Performance at 340 Clovis Avenue. With our project, unfortunately, we had an engineer that was doing the project. We had to move on. We hired Dave Peters Associates here in Old Town. Once they got our contract, they moved very fast. Sean and his staff, they did amazing to get everything done. Yes, unfortunately, we didn't make that. All the contracts are taken care of. Permits are signed. Alert Light is supposed to be there November 3rd to put everything out. Toasted Concrete already has their plan. They're going to start the same day, and then their completion will be November 17th. And that's when they're planning on removing everything from the street.
Any questions?
Mr. Standifer, were you present in August at our meeting?
No, I was not.
Okay. So your last physical presence was in May, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if I recall correctly, you had another person that identified himself as your attorney.
Correct.
At that meeting, and you both promised that everything would be taken care of by August.
Yeah.
And that was after we were promised in May, promised in January, would be taken care of in May. I'm speaking for myself personally. What can you tell me to convince me that this isn't just another promise?
Because everything is filed, I've put my own money down, everything's paid for, and at this point, I would lose everything, all the money that I paid for all this work. So I'm 100% in. The timetable, yes, we didn't meet. Like I said, that was based off the engineer, and that was my fault for using someone that I thought had the best interest of me and the facility, and that's why we went with an outsourced Dave Peters and his company. But as far as me, I've leveraged my house. I've taken everything financially from that to pay for this, and everything is paid. There's no other, they've signed off on all the permits, and the only thing that we had to wait on, unfortunately, was the street closure, but that's the truth, and everything else is handled at that point.
I just have some difficulty accepting what you're saying, and it's based on this past record.
And that's
we're partners with our business community and want to be a partner with you, but I'm not going to be a fool either. So I didn't feel comfortable. Were you able? I know you probably didn't write it, but do you have anything to do with the GoFundMe account that was
No, I did not.
started in your company?
No, I did not. That was clients that were trying to help out with, funding. I was nowhere on that one.
You weren't aware of the fact that they kind of made us out as the enemy?
I did not, from everything that I saw from them, there was nothing negative, and I could be wrong on that, but I was not a part of the GoFundMe on that one. That was 3 clients in our 5 a.m. group that started that project, and to be honest, I didn't want it. I didn't want their help, for the simple fact is, unfortunately, ego got involved for me, and I wanted to be able to take care of it and move on. But they were trying to do something to help not only me personally, but the gym financially to get done. And from all the conversations that we had after they had started it, nothing was negatively said to me about the Planning Commission. Their biggest thing was they wanted to help us get everything open so that we can start doing our activities for the kids and continue to grow.
Well, I don't know that it specifically said Planning Commission, but the city of Clovis, I believe they said, was forcing you to put the sidewalks in, as though it was an ultimatum, using all of your own money. And I'm thinking, no, we haven't. That's a part of our planning rules and regulation for everyone. So it just kind of struck me a little. But I do recognize that your name wasn't on it, so I want to give you the opportunity to speak to that.
And like I said, you're trying to be proud about the situation, and you want to carry everything. Unfortunately, through this process, the engineer, you learn how people are on that, and that's why I'm glad that we hired such a great company here in town that was able to get everything done. I understand the timetables and your, desire, I guess, to not trust my word on that one, but at this point, they've seen all the contracts, they've seen everything, as far as permit process, everything else, That's the only thing I can say, is all of that has been paid for, taken care of, and, if we were trying to just keep prolonging it, we wouldn't have started ripping out the ground to get the trash enclosures and move those things forward. We've already had 811 come out to do all the ground site work. Toasted set that up this week. I did the one last week for the trash enclosure, so everything has been trying to move full as fast as we possibly can.
If I understand what you're telling us, then, is you've already paid for the work to be done, it just hasn't commenced yet, is that correct?
Correct.
And is it paid in full?
No, it's 10% down. We had to pay, I don't have the notes in front of me, but it was like $6,800 and something, and that's with the contract that is fully signed. And then because what Tosa told me is, and I could be wrong in this, is they can only take a 10% deposit down legally, and then once the project is done, then they get their payment in full.
Okay, thank you.
I have to ask, because I asked the question in the last meeting, that your representative was here, and I hate doing it because I don't particularly want to get into your personal matters much, but it was in the context of understanding that material costs and the cost for labor and everything has just been going up exponentially over the last several years.
Yeah.
So I asked a very forthcoming question of, do you have the money, or were you going to be back here saying, well, now I don't have the funds?
I can show you my financials right now.
Yeah, I don't want to see your financials.
I know, but I'm saying that.
No, but what I'm getting at is, I think like the other commissioners have said here, I think I can speak for this group, but I will speak for myself in this. We want to see this come to completion just as much as you do, right? And I think we're not trying to be overly bureaucratic, but there's commitments that have been made and missed, not once, not twice, multiple times. And so that's why the pointed questions have come to make sure, what's the next gotcha? What's the next snag that we could possibly be faced with? I have to say I'm encouraged by everything I see underway, disappointed that it didn't meet the timelines that we agreed to before. Honestly, as I sit here and look at reviewing this on December 15th, I don't see it. I'd rather see it next year. Because if the past is any indication of the future, you probably aren't gonna be done. And there's always inherent challenges in anything that's done, but I guess I'm just looking for more assurance that, I mean, you've got this nailed. Let's give you every opportunity to succeed in getting this complete. And if that's January, I don't know what's driving the December 15th date here. Maybe there's high confidence from city staff that think that it'll all be done, but I don't know. I'm not overly optimistic that it's December 15th. I feel like giving you extra time, because I can say I don't want to see it again personally. I don't either. I want to see an approval. I want to see your business open. I want to see you be able to provide the services that you do for these kids and for the community. But we don't want to become, we don't want to become this obstacle for you or a perceived obstacle for your, the folks that consume your services either.
For me right now, I have to get this done because financially it is crushing us. I have all the money in a separate account to cover all the expenses, but with us not being able to do our team sports, all of that, we are trying to push as fast as we can. And that's why Toasted has the street blockage for 2 weeks. That's the biggest project, and at the same time, they pour the foundation for the trash enclosures all at the same time. So that's why we'll have the block company come in and do that all at the same time. So,
yeah, I just asked Mr. Sandiford because when I see the GoFundMe set up after the fact, and yet I hear your representative look all of us in the eye and say, "Yep, the money's there." I don't. Maybe that was done to help you out because it is a lot of expense and it wasn't needed, but it just brings other things into the equation, and we're just looking for that assurance that it's going to get done.
Like I said, the clients from the morning group, 3 women in the morning started it just to specifically help me with, I have the money, but they were like, we don't want you to wipe everything out in case something happens with the way the economy is. So that's why they did it. Our pro athletes were involved, and, they were trying to do something that they believe in what we're trying to do, and I appreciate their help, But it was something that I never in a million years would have asked to do. That's not who I am.
Well, obviously, you got good folks that want to see you succeed there as well. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the chamber that would like to speak on this project? See none. Is there any online?
There are none.
Okay. Staff, do you have anything to say that needs to be said about this that's been brought up?
No, thank you.
Okay, bring it back.
I have a question for Mr. Smith. On a confidence level, how confident are you compared to the previous appearances on this business that this will be completed prior to any date we set forward?
Yeah, I think the difference now is in the past there was a lot of promises, it was words, and now there's action behind those words. The plans are approved. He's followed through with everything that he needed to do. The contractor came in, pulled their permits, they've got the traffic control in place. All things point towards him finishing, and the communication that I've had with him in between two, I have a lot more confidence in him. It's night and day to me.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, I have a question for you. I know before when we did the extension, there was like a caveat that if they happened to get it done sooner and everything, all the conditions were met, they could then be allowed to open and not wait to come back before us. Is that still part of this agreement?
Yes.
Okay. So if he's correct and it finishes on the 17th of November, theoretically, and nothing goes wrong, they could potentially open before Thanksgiving.
Correct.
Okay. Just want to confirm that.
Any other questions? Okay, Commission, and we're open for a motion.
I just have one other comment. I agree with Commissioner Amy that we allow them to open, but I want a final assurance from, engineering that it, before we allow it, that it is completed and all on the up and up, you know, that there's no other things that need to be done. I would ask that be put into the motion. That doable, if I made it clear as mud?
I think it's in the conditions, right?
In the final approval process by the city. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, with that then, I'll move to approve, an extension to, December 15th, of this year, subject to the conditions that we've just put forth.
I'll second, and I would like to say that I hope everything goes well, and I hope you can open before then.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Hatcher, approving a resolution authorizing continued operations permitted under CUP 2020-004 and modifying the conditions of approval to extend the suspension of outdoor operations until all conditions have been met, with the deadline for completion of the conditions on December 15th, 2022. If all conditions of approval are met prior to December 15, 2022, all outdoor activities may be resumed in compliance with CUP 2020-004. A review of the compliance with the conditions of approval shall be scheduled for the December 15, 2022 Planning Commission hearing. Commissioner Antuna?
No.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay. Everything is, public hearing has been talked about and brought up before us. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting closed. Adjournment of the meeting at 7 p.m.